Life will test you in ways you never expected. Pressure will show up uninvited. Chaos will knock on your door when you are already tired. And in those moments, the real work begins inside your mind. Calm is not something you are born with. Calm is something you train. Just like a muscle, your mind responds to repetition, discipline, and belief. Most people think calm means weakness. They think staying quiet means you are losing. That's wrong. Calm is control. Calm is power under pressure. When everyone else is reacting emotionally, the calm person is observing, choosing, and leading. Your mind does not need to panic just because the world is loud. Noise outside does not require noise inside. You must understand this truth early. You cannot control every situation, but you can always control how you respond. Life will throw storms at you, but you decide whether the storm lives in your head. When your heart starts racing and your thoughts start spiraling, that is your cue to slow down, not speed up. Breathe, think, respond with intention. Training your mind starts with awareness. Pay attention to your thoughts. Not every thought deserves your energy. Some thoughts are just visitors, not instructions. You don't have to act on fear. You don't have to obey anger. You don't have to chase every negative idea that enters your mind. Learn to pause. That pause is where calm lives. Discomfort is part of growth. If you run from every uncomfortable feeling, you will never become mentally strong. Instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" ask, "What is this teaching me?" Calm people don't avoid pressure. They use it to sharpen themselves. Pressure builds diamonds, but only if you stay grounded. Your past does not control your present unless you allow it. Let go of what you cannot change. Carrying emotional weight only slows you down. Calm comes from acceptance, not resistance. When you accept reality as it is, you stop fighting shadows and start focusing on solutions. Silence is a powerful teacher. Spend time alone with your thoughts, turn down the noise of the world and listen to yourself. Meditation, prayer, reflection. These are not escapes, they are training grounds for your mind. A calm mind is built in quiet moments long before chaos arrives. When people doubt you, when situations feel unfair, when outcomes don't go your way, remember this. Emotional reactions give your power away. Calm keeps your power with you. You don't need to prove yourself through anger. You don't need to react to every provocation. Strength is shown in restraint. Every day, choose calm intentionally. Choose patience when impatience feels easier. Choose clarity when confusion tries to take over. Over time, your mind will learn a new pattern. What once triggered panic will barely shake you. What once overwhelmed you will become manageable. Train your mind daily, not only when things go wrong. Because when the pressure is on, you won't rise to the level of your motivation. You will fall to the level of your training, and a trained mind stays calm, focused, and unbreakable in any situation. Calm is not something you magically wake up with one day. It is not a personality trait reserved for a lucky few, and it is not something that automatically appears when life gets easier. Calm is built the same way strength is built in the body, through consistent training, repetition, and discipline. The mind, like any muscle, adapts to how you use it. If you constantly feed it stress, fear, and reaction, it will become chaotic. If you train it with patience, awareness, and control, it will become calm even in the middle of pressure. Most people wait for life to slow down before they try to feel calm. They tell themselves they will relax once things improve, once problems disappear, once circumstances change, but that moment rarely comes. Life does not pause to give you peace. The storms keep coming, and if you are not trained, every storm feels overwhelming. Calm is not the absence of problems. Calm is the ability to stay steady while problems exist. Training calm starts with understanding that your first reaction is not always your best response. The mind is wired to protect you, and sometimes it overreacts. A raised voice, a sudden challenge, a mistake, or a setback can trigger fear or anger instantly. That reaction feels automatic, but it is not uncontrollable. The more you practice pausing before reacting, the more control you gain. That pause may only last a few seconds, but those seconds can change outcomes, relationships, and decisions. People often confuse calm with weakness because they associate strength with loudness and dominance. In reality, the strongest individuals are often the quietest under pressure. They do not rush to speak. They do not explode emotionally. They observe, assess, and then act with intention. That level of control does not come from talent. It comes from training the mind to resist impulsive reactions. Mental training begins in small, everyday moments. When something irritates you, notice it instead of immediately responding. When anxiety creeps in, acknowledge it without letting it take over. When frustration rises, breathe and give yourself space. These moments may seem insignificant, but they are the foundation. Just as lifting light weights consistently builds strength over time, practicing calm in small situations prepares you for bigger challenges. Discomfort is a crucial part of this process. Many people avoid discomfort at all costs. They distract themselves, escape, or suppress emotions. But avoiding discomfort weakens the mind. Facing discomfort teaches resilience. When you sit with uncomfortable feelings without reacting, you train your mind to realize that discomfort is temporary and manageable. This understanding reduces fear and increases confidence in your ability to handle difficult situations. Another important part of training calm is letting go of the need to control everything. The desire to control outcomes, people, and circumstances creates tension. When things do not go according to plan, stress increases. Calm grows when you accept that not everything is within your control, but your response always is. Acceptance does not mean giving up. It means conserving your energy for what truly matters. Your internal dialogue plays a major role in your level of calm. The way you talk to yourself shapes your emotional state. Constant negative self-talk keeps the mind on edge. Training calm requires changing that inner conversation. Instead of telling yourself that you cannot handle a situation, remind yourself that you have faced challenges before and survived. Instead of assuming the worst, focus on what you can do in the present moment. Over time, this shift creates a more stable mental environment. Stillness and silence are powerful training tools. In a world full of noise, the mind rarely gets rest. Constant stimulation keeps it alert and reactive. Taking time to sit in silence, even for a few minutes a day, allows the mind to settle. In silence, you learn to observe your thoughts rather than chase them. This practice builds awareness, and awareness is the gateway to calm. Consistency matters more than intensity. You do not need dramatic techniques or extreme practices. What matters is showing up every day with the intention to be more aware and more controlled than yesterday. Some days you will fail, you will react emotionally or lose your patience. That does not mean the training is not working. It means you are human. Progress is measured over time, not in single moments. A trained calm mind changes how you experience life. Situations that once felt overwhelming begin to feel manageable. You respond instead of react. You listen instead of interrupt. You think clearly instead of panicking. This does not make life perfect, but it makes you stronger within it. Calm becomes your default state, not because life is easy, but because your mind is prepared. When calm is trained, it becomes reliable. It does not disappear when pressure rises. It does not depend on external validation or perfect conditions. It stays with you in conflict, uncertainty, and challenge. That kind of calm is not fragile. It is built layer by layer through daily effort, self-discipline, and awareness. There will be moments in life when everything around you feels out of control. Plans fall apart, people disappoint you, and circumstances shift without warning. In those moments, the instinct is to fight reality, to panic, to react emotionally, or to blame everything outside of yourself. But real strength begins when you accept one simple truth. You cannot control every situation, but you can always control how you respond to it. That understanding changes everything. Most suffering does not come from events themselves, but from our reaction to them. Two people can face the same challenge and one will break while the other remains steady. The difference is not luck or intelligence. The difference is response. When you let external events dictate your emotional state, you hand over your power. When you choose your response, you take that power back. Life will never ask for your permission before testing you. Problems will arrive on days when you are already tired. Pressure will show up when you feel least prepared. Waiting for perfect conditions before you stay calm is unrealistic. Control does not mean controlling the world. It means controlling yourself within the world. That internal control is what allows you to move forward even when the situation is messy. The first step in controlling your response is awareness. You must notice what is happening inside you before you can change it. When something goes wrong, your body reacts first. Your heart rate increases, your muscles tense, your breathing becomes shallow. If you are unaware of these signals, your reaction takes over automatically. Awareness creates a gap between the trigger and the response. In that gap, you have a choice. Choosing your response does not mean suppressing emotions. Emotions are natural. Anger, fear, disappointment, and frustration are part of being human. The problem arises when emotions control your actions. You can feel anger without acting on it. You can feel fear without letting it paralyze you. Emotional maturity is not about being emotionless. It is about being intentional. One of the biggest challenges in controlling responses is ego. When your ego is hurt, you feel the urge to defend, explain, or attack. Ego-driven reactions often escalate situations and create unnecessary conflict. When you pause and detach your ego from the moment, clarity returns. You begin to see the situation for what it is, not as a personal attack, but as a problem that needs a solution. Training your response requires practice in everyday situations. When someone cuts you off in traffic, when a comment irritates you, when plans change unexpectedly, those are training moments. Instead of reacting instantly, take a breath. Ask yourself what response will serve you best in the long run. Most of the time, calm and measured responses lead to better outcomes than emotional ones. Another key part of response control is letting go of expectation. Expectations create attachment, and attachment leads to frustration when reality does not match your hopes. When you expect people to behave a certain way or situations to unfold according to your plan, you set yourself up for disappointment. Letting go of rigid expectations allows you to adapt more easily and respond with flexibility rather than resistance. Language also plays a powerful role in shaping your response. The words you use internally and externally can either escalate or de-escalate a situation. When you tell yourself that a situation is unbearable, your stress increases. When you tell yourself that it is challenging but manageable, your mind stays grounded. Changing your language changes your emotional response. Controlling your response does not mean tolerating disrespect or injustice. It means choosing how and when to address it. Calm responses are often more effective than explosive ones. When you respond with clarity instead of rage, your message is heard more clearly. When you act with purpose instead of impulse, you protect your dignity and your goals. There will be times when you fail at this. You will react emotionally, say things you regret, or lose your composure. These moments are not proof of weakness. They are reminders that training is ongoing. What matters is reflection. After the moment passes, look back and ask yourself what you could do differently next time. This reflection turns mistakes into lessons. As you continue to practice response control, you will notice a shift. Situations that once triggered strong reactions will start to lose their power over you. You will feel less drained by chaos and more confident in your ability to handle uncertainty. This does not make you passive, it makes you strategic. Ultimately, controlling your response is about freedom. Freedom from being controlled by circumstances, other people, or emotions. When you master your response, you stop being a victim of situations and become an active participant in your own life. You may not be able to control what happens next, but you can always control who you choose to be in the moment. Calmness is often misunderstood. Many people believe that if you stay calm, you are weak, passive, or afraid to speak up. They think power looks loud, aggressive, and emotionally charged, but real power has never been about noise. Real power is control. It is the ability to remain steady when everything around you is trying to shake you. Emotional control is not the absence of feeling, it is the mastery of feeling. When emotions run unchecked, they hijack judgment. Anger pushes people to say things they regret. Fear causes hesitation when action is needed. Ego fuels conflicts that never needed to exist. A calm person sees all of this happening and chooses a different path. That choice is not accidental. It comes from strength, discipline, and self-awareness. Look closely at people who lead under pressure. In crises, the strongest leaders are rarely the most emotional ones. They speak clearly, think logically, and move deliberately. Their calm reassures others. Their composure creates trust. This is not because they feel less than everyone else, but because they have trained themselves to manage what they feel. Weakness is reacting without thinking. Weakness is letting emotions dictate behavior. Strength is the ability to feel deeply and still act wisely. Calmness allows you to stay connected to reality instead of being consumed by emotion. It gives you the clarity to see options that emotional reactions hide. There is a difference between suppression and control. Suppression is pushing emotions down and pretending they do not exist. Control is acknowledging emotions without allowing them to take over. Suppressed emotions build pressure and eventually explode. Controlled emotions are processed, understood, and released in healthy ways. People often mistake calmness for indifference. They assume that if you are not reacting strongly, you do not care. In truth, calmness often comes from caring deeply. It comes from valuing your peace, your goals, and your future more than a momentary emotional release. Choosing not to react is sometimes the most powerful response you can make. Emotional control protects your energy. Every emotional outburst costs something. It costs focus, time, and sometimes relationships. Calmness conserves energy and directs it where it matters, instead of wasting energy on anger or frustration. Calm individuals use that energy to think, plan, and act. In conflict, calmness changes the dynamic. When one person remains composed, escalation becomes difficult. Anger feeds on anger. Calmness disrupts that cycle. It forces the other person to slow down, rethink, or reveal their intentions. This gives you an advantage, not because you dominate, but because you remain grounded. Calmness also strengthens decision-making. Emotional decisions are often short-sighted. They focus on immediate relief rather than long-term outcomes. Calm decisions consider consequences. They align actions with values. When you are calm, you are less likely to sabotage yourself in moments of pressure. Building emotional control requires honesty with yourself. You must recognize what triggers you. Certain words, situations, or memories can provoke strong reactions. Identifying these triggers allows you to prepare. When you know what affects you, you can plan how to respond before the moment arrives. Training emotional control also requires humility. You must accept that you will not always get it right. There will be moments when emotions take over. These moments are not failures, they are feedback. Each experience teaches you more about yourself and strengthens your ability to remain calm next time. Calmness does not mean tolerating mistreatment or ignoring boundaries. Emotional control allows you to address issues without losing yourself in them. You can speak firmly without shouting. You can set boundaries without hostility. You can walk away without bitterness. That balance is a sign of inner strength. In a world that constantly provokes reactions, calmness is rare. And what is rare is powerful. When others are reactive, being calm sets you apart. It gives you authority without force and confidence without arrogance. It allows you to move through challenges with dignity and purpose. The more you practice emotional control, the more natural it becomes. Over time, calmness becomes your default response. Situations that once overwhelmed you will feel manageable. You will no longer fear pressure because you trust your ability to handle it. That trust builds confidence, and confidence reinforces calm. Calmness is not something you wait for. It is something you choose again and again. Each time you choose control over reaction, you strengthen that muscle. Each time you pause instead of exploding, you gain power. Emotional control is not weakness hiding behind silence. It is strength expressed through discipline and self-mastery. The quality of your life is deeply connected to the quality of your thoughts. Every action begins as a thought, and every reaction is guided by what you allow to live in your mind. Awareness of thoughts is not about controlling every idea that appears, but about recognizing which thoughts deserve your attention and which do not. Mental discipline begins the moment you stop believing that every thought is true or urgent. The mind produces thousands of thoughts every day. Some are useful, some are neutral, and many are negative or irrational. If you are not aware of this process, you become a servant to whatever thought shows up the loudest. Awareness creates distance. When you observe your thoughts instead of immediately identifying with them, you gain the ability to choose your response. Most people assume their thoughts define them. They say, "I am anxious" or "I am angry," without realizing they are experiencing anxious or angry thoughts. This subtle difference matters. You are not your thoughts, you are the observer of them. The moment you understand this, mental discipline becomes possible. You stop being controlled by your inner dialogue and start managing it. Awareness begins with noticing patterns. Pay attention to recurring thoughts, especially in stressful situations. Do you immediately assume the worst? Do you criticize yourself harshly? Do you replay past mistakes? These patterns shape your emotional state and your behavior. You cannot change what you do not notice. Awareness shines light on habits that operate in the background. Once you notice a thought, the next step is evaluation. Ask yourself whether the thought is helpful or harmful. Is it based on facts or fear? Does it move you closer to a solution or deeper into anxiety? Not every negative thought needs to be challenged, but many need to be questioned. This questioning weakens the hold destructive thoughts have over you. Mental discipline does not mean forcing positive thoughts all the time. Forced positivity can be just as damaging as constant negativity. True discipline is balance. It allows you to acknowledge reality without exaggerating it. You can recognize difficulty without turning it into disaster. You can accept mistakes without turning them into judgments about your worth. Emotions often follow thoughts. A single unchecked thought can spiral into fear, anger, or hopelessness. Awareness interrupts that spiral. When you catch a thought early, you prevent it from gaining momentum. This is why calm people often seem unshaken. They are not free from negative thoughts. They are simply quicker to notice and redirect them. Practicing awareness requires patience. The mind is used to wandering and reacting. At first, you will notice thoughts only after they have already affected your mood. That is normal. With time, awareness sharpens. You begin to catch thoughts as they arise. This progress is subtle but powerful. One of the most effective ways to build awareness is through stillness. When the mind is constantly distracted, thoughts blend into noise. Moments of silence allow thoughts to surface clearly. Whether through meditation, quiet walks, or simple breathing, stillness trains the mind to observe rather than react. Language plays a major role in mental discipline. The words you use internally shape how thoughts are interpreted. Harsh language fuels tension. Gentle but honest language creates space for growth. Changing how you speak to yourself is not weakness, it is strategy. A disciplined mind knows how to correct itself without self-destruction. Awareness also helps you separate facts from interpretations. A situation may be challenging, but your interpretation can make it unbearable. When you become aware of the story you are telling yourself, you gain the option to rewrite it. This does not change reality, but it changes your relationship with it. Mental discipline is strengthened through repetition. Each time you notice a thought and choose not to follow it, you reinforce awareness. Each time you redirect your focus, you train your mind to stay present. Over time, this practice reduces mental noise and increases clarity. Discipline does not mean rigidity. It means flexibility with structure. A disciplined mind can adapt because it is not trapped by automatic reactions. It can pause, consider, and choose. This ability creates emotional stability and calm. As awareness deepens, your inner world becomes less chaotic. Thoughts lose their grip. Emotions become easier to manage. You begin to respond to life rather than be dragged by it. Mental discipline is not about perfection. It is about presence. Presence allows you to live deliberately instead of reactively, and that awareness becomes the foundation for lasting calm and inner strength. Pressure is something everyone experiences, but not everyone understands how to use it. Most people see pressure and discomfort as signs that something is wrong, as signals to escape or quit. They associate discomfort with failure or weakness. In reality, pressure and discomfort are essential tools for growth. They are not obstacles meant to stop you, they are forces meant to shape you. Growth has never happened in comfort. Comfort keeps things the same. It maintains habits, routines, and ways of thinking that feel safe but limit progress. Discomfort challenges those limits. It forces you to confront weaknesses, face fears, and develop new strengths. Without discomfort, there is no reason to change, and without change, there is no growth. Pressure reveals who you are. When everything is easy, character stays hidden. When pressure arrives, your habits, mindset, and discipline come to the surface. Some people collapse under pressure because they have never trained themselves to endure it. Others rise because they have learned to see pressure as preparation rather than punishment. The difference is not ability, it is perspective. Discomfort teaches resilience. When you experience difficulty and survive it, your mind learns an important lesson: you are capable. Each time you push through discomfort, you expand your tolerance for challenge. What once felt unbearable becomes manageable. What once frightened you becomes familiar. This gradual expansion builds confidence that cannot be taken away easily. Many people try to avoid discomfort by seeking constant reassurance, distraction, or escape. They numb themselves with entertainment, noise, or comfort. While these things may provide temporary relief, they weaken the mind over time. Avoidance teaches the brain that discomfort is dangerous. Facing discomfort teaches the brain that discomfort is survivable and often valuable. Pressure also sharpens focus. When stakes are high, distractions lose their appeal. You become more present, more alert, more engaged. This intensity, when managed properly, brings out your best performance. Athletes, artists, and leaders often produce their greatest work under pressure because it forces clarity and commitment. There is a difference between destructive pressure and constructive pressure. Destructive pressure overwhelms without purpose. Constructive pressure challenges with intention. You can create constructive pressure in your life by setting standards, goals, and responsibilities that demand effort. When pressure is aligned with purpose, it becomes fuel instead of a burden. Discomfort exposes limiting beliefs. When you feel resistance, ask yourself what belief is being challenged. Maybe it is the belief that you are not good enough, not ready, or not capable. Discomfort shines a light on these beliefs and gives you the opportunity to replace them. Without discomfort, these beliefs remain hidden and unchallenged. The body and mind adapt to what they are exposed to. Just as muscles grow by being stressed and repaired, the mind grows by being challenged and strengthened. Avoiding stress entirely leads to fragility. Controlled exposure to difficulty builds resilience. This is why people who have faced adversity often develop deeper strength and perspective. Discomfort also teaches patience. Growth rarely happens instantly. Progress is often slow and uncomfortable. Learning to stay committed during uncomfortable phases builds discipline. Discipline is what carries you forward when motivation fades. Pressure tests discipline, and discipline is what turns potential into results. Fear often accompanies discomfort. Fear is not a sign to stop. It is a signal that you are stepping into unfamiliar territory. Familiar paths rarely lead to growth. Fear, when faced, loses its power. Each time you act despite fear, you reclaim control over your mind. Over time, fear becomes a guide rather than a barrier. Pressure can either break you or build you. The deciding factor is how you interpret it. If you see pressure as evidence that you are failing, it will drain you. If you see pressure as evidence that you are growing, it will strengthen you. This shift in interpretation changes your entire experience of difficulty. Learning to sit with discomfort is a skill. It means resisting the urge to quit, complain, or distract yourself. It means staying present even when things feel uncertain or hard. This presence builds mental toughness. Mental toughness is not about being hard or cold. It is about staying steady and committed when conditions are not ideal. Discomfort also builds humility. It reminds you that growth is ongoing and that mastery takes time. It teaches you to respect the process rather than chase quick results. This humility keeps you grounded and open to learning. When you begin to see pressure as a tool, your relationship with challenges changes. You stop asking why life is hard and start asking what the difficulty is shaping within you. You stop running from discomfort and start using it. Over time, pressure becomes familiar, and discomfort becomes a signal of progress rather than a threat. The strongest versions of people are not formed in moments of ease, but in moments of resistance. Pressure refines focus. Discomfort builds endurance. Together, they create growth that is deep, lasting, and meaningful. The past has a powerful grip on the mind if you let it. Memories, mistakes, regrets, and old wounds can quietly shape your present thoughts and decisions. Many people believe they have moved on, yet they still carry emotional weight from experiences that no longer exist. Letting go of the past is not about forgetting what happened. It is about releasing its control over your present. Inner stability begins the moment you stop allowing yesterday to dictate today. The mind often clings to the past because it is familiar. Even painful memories can feel safer than uncertainty. Replaying old situations gives the illusion of control, as if thinking about them enough times might change the outcome. But the past cannot be edited. Every moment spent reliving it is a moment stolen from the present. Stability comes from accepting what is and choosing how to move forward. Regret is one of the heaviest burdens people carry. It convinces you that you should have known better, acted differently, or chosen another path. While reflection can be useful, excessive regret becomes self-punishment. It traps you in a loop of blame that drains confidence and energy. Letting go means learning from mistakes without living inside them. Holding on to the past also affects how you see yourself. Old failures become labels. Past disappointments become identities. When you define yourself by what went wrong, you limit what is possible. Inner stability requires separating who you are from what happened. You are not your worst decision. You are not your biggest failure. You are someone who experienced those moments and survived them. Forgiveness plays a crucial role in letting go. This includes forgiving others and forgiving yourself. Unforgiven anger keeps the nervous system on high alert. It creates tension, resentment, and emotional instability. Forgiveness is not approval of harm. It is the decision to stop carrying the weight of it. When you forgive, you free yourself more than anyone else. The body remembers what the mind refuses to release. Stress, tension, and anxiety often have roots in unresolved emotional experiences. Letting go of the past is not just a mental process, it is a physical one. As you release emotional weight, the body begins to relax, breathing deepens, the nervous system calms. Stability grows from this internal alignment. Letting go requires honesty. You must acknowledge what still hurts. Avoiding pain does not remove it, it hides it. Facing emotional wounds with compassion allows healing to begin. This process may be uncomfortable, but discomfort is often the doorway to freedom. When you allow yourself to feel without judgment, emotions lose their intensity over time. Another obstacle to letting go is attachment to identity. Sometimes people hold onto the past because it gives them a story. That story may be painful, but it provides meaning. Letting go feels like losing a part of yourself. In reality, it creates space for a new identity to form, one based on growth rather than pain. Stability comes from grounding yourself in the present moment. The present is the only place where change can occur. When your attention stays anchored in now, the past loses its influence. Practices like mindful breathing, physical movement, and intentional focus help bring the mind back to the present. Over time, this habit weakens the pull of old memories. Letting go does not happen all at once. It is a gradual process of choosing release again and again. Some days you will feel free. Other days the past will resurface. This does not mean you are failing. It means you are human. Each time you choose not to dwell, you strengthen your ability to remain centered. The fear of repeating past mistakes can also create instability. It leads to overthinking and hesitation. While awareness of past lessons is valuable, fear-based avoidance limits growth. Trusting yourself to handle challenges, even if mistakes occur, restores confidence. Stability grows when you believe in your capacity to adapt and learn. Releasing the past also involves redefining success and failure. What you once saw as failure may have been redirection. What felt like loss may have been necessary change. As your perspective shifts, the emotional charge attached to memories decreases. Meaning replaces regret. Inner stability is not about erasing history. It is about integrating it without being controlled by it. Your experiences become sources of wisdom rather than pain. They inform your choices without imprisoning you. This integration creates a sense of wholeness and peace. When the past no longer dominates your thoughts, your energy returns, focus sharpens, emotional reactions soften, you become more responsive and less reactive. Life feels lighter, not because challenges disappear, but because you are no longer carrying unnecessary weight. Letting go is not a loss. It is a return to balance. An inner strength. Silence is often misunderstood in a world that rewards noise. People are taught to speak quickly, react instantly, and fill every empty space with words or distractions. Yet silence holds a power that constant activity never can. When you step into silence, you step into a space where the mind can finally be heard. Self-reflection begins when the noise fades, and it is in that quiet space that true mental strength is built. Most people avoid silence because it brings them face to face with their own thoughts. Distractions become a way to escape discomfort. Phones, music, conversations, and constant stimulation keep the mind busy but unfocused. In silence, there is nowhere to run. Thoughts rise to the surface, emotions reveal themselves, and unresolved questions demand attention. While this can feel uncomfortable at first, it is also where growth begins. Silence teaches awareness. When external noise is removed, internal patterns become clear. You begin to notice recurring thoughts, emotional triggers, and habits of mind that normally go unnoticed. This awareness is the foundation of self-mastery. You cannot strengthen what you do not understand, and silence provides the clarity needed for understanding. Self-reflection allows you to examine your actions honestly. Without reflection, mistakes repeat themselves. Reflection creates learning. It allows you to ask why something happened, how you responded, and what you can do differently next time. This process transforms experiences into lessons rather than regrets. Mental strength grows when you learn to sit with yourself without judgment. In silence, you learn that emotions rise and fall on their own. You do not need to act on every feeling. This realization builds emotional stability. When you stop fearing your own inner world, you become less dependent on external validation and distractions. Silence also strengthens focus. A mind constantly pulled in different directions becomes scattered and reactive. Quiet time trains the mind to stay with one thought, one feeling, one intention. This ability to focus carries into daily life. Tasks become easier, decisions become clearer, stress becomes more manageable. Self-reflection reveals values. When life is busy, it is easy to drift away from what truly matters. Silence creates space to reconnect with priorities. You begin to see whether your actions align with your values or whether you have been living on autopilot. This awareness empowers you to make adjustments that bring your life into alignment. Spending time in silence builds patience. In a culture of instant results, patience is rare. Silence slows you down. It teaches you to be present without constant stimulation. This patience strengthens resilience. When challenges arise, you are less likely to panic or rush into decisions. You learn to wait, observe, and respond thoughtfully. Silence also improves emotional regulation. When emotions arise in quiet moments, you learn to observe them without resistance. This observation reduces their intensity. Over time, emotional reactions lose their grip. You become less reactive and more composed. This composure is a key component of mental strength. Self-reflection in silence deepens self-trust. When you regularly check in with yourself, you become more familiar with your inner voice. You learn to distinguish between fear and intuition, impulse and insight. This clarity builds confidence in your decisions. You stop second-guessing yourself because you understand yourself better. Silence fosters creativity and problem-solving. When the mind is not overloaded, it naturally makes connections and generates ideas. Many breakthroughs occur in quiet moments, not in chaos. Giving yourself space allows solutions to emerge organically rather than being forced. Developing a relationship with silence requires consistency. At first, quiet moments may feel uncomfortable or unproductive. Over time, they become grounding. Even a few minutes of intentional silence each day can strengthen the mind. The goal is not isolation, but balance. Silence becomes a place of renewal rather than avoidance. Self-reflection also encourages accountability. When you reflect honestly, you cannot hide from your choices. This accountability strengthens character. You become more intentional in how you live because you are aware of the impact of your actions. Mental strength is built not by denying flaws, but by addressing them. As silence becomes a regular practice, your inner world stabilizes, thoughts slow down, emotions become easier to manage. You feel less pulled by external pressures and more guided by internal clarity. This stability does not make life easier, but it makes you stronger within it. Silence is not empty. It is full of insight, awareness, and strength. Those who learn to value it gain access to a deeper level of control over their minds and lives. In the quiet, you find clarity. In reflection, you find direction. And in that space, mental strength quietly takes root. Mental calm under pressure is not an accident. It is the result of daily, intentional training. Just as the body becomes stronger through repeated physical effort, the mind becomes steadier through consistent mental practice. People often wait for calm to appear when life slows down, but life rarely slows down. Calm must be built before it is needed, not searched for in the middle of chaos. Every day presents opportunities to train the mind. Small moments of stress, frustration, and discomfort are not obstacles but training grounds. When you choose patience instead of reaction in a minor inconvenience, you strengthen the same mental muscle that will support you during major challenges. Calm is developed in ordinary moments long before extraordinary pressure arrives. Daily mental training begins with awareness. You cannot train what you do not notice. Paying attention to your thoughts, emotional reactions, and patterns creates the foundation for change. When stress arises, awareness gives you a choice. Instead of being carried away by emotion, you can pause and respond intentionally. That pause is the first sign of trained calm. Consistency matters more than intensity. Short, regular practices build resilience over time. A few minutes of controlled breathing, reflection, or mindfulness each day accumulates into lasting mental strength. Many people underestimate small efforts, but the mind responds powerfully to repetition. What you practice daily becomes your default response under pressure. Training the mind also means learning to sit with discomfort. Calm does not come from avoiding stress, but from learning how to stay steady within it. When you face discomfort without escaping or reacting impulsively, your nervous system adapts. Over time, situations that once felt overwhelming lose their power. You become familiar with pressure instead of afraid of it. Mental training includes controlling attention. The mind naturally drifts toward worry, regret, and imagined threats. Daily practice teaches you to bring attention back to the present moment. This skill reduces anxiety and prevents the mind from spiraling into unnecessary stress. Staying present anchors calm even when circumstances are uncertain. Breath is a powerful training tool. Conscious breathing signals safety to the body and steadies the mind. Practicing slow, deliberate breathing daily conditions your system to respond calmly under stress. When pressure hits, the body remembers what it has practiced. Calm breathing becomes automatic rather than forced. Thought discipline is another essential part of mental training. Not every thought deserves belief or attention. Daily reflection helps you recognize negative or exaggerated thinking patterns. By questioning these thoughts instead of accepting them, you weaken their influence. Over time, your internal dialogue becomes more balanced and supportive. Training the mind also involves emotional regulation. Emotions are not enemies, but untrained emotions can control behavior. Daily practice teaches you to observe emotions without acting on them immediately. This space between feeling and action is where calm lives. The more often you practice this, the stronger your emotional control becomes. Physical habits support mental calm. Sleep, movement, and nutrition affect how the mind responds to stress. Training the mind is not separate from caring for the body. When the body is neglected, mental calm becomes harder to maintain. Consistency in physical self-care reinforces mental resilience. Daily challenges should be reframed as practice sessions. Traffic, delays, criticism, and setbacks are not interruptions to training, they are the training. Each moment offers a choice between reaction and response. Choosing calm repeatedly builds confidence in your ability to handle pressure. Mental training also requires letting go of the need to control everything. Control over outcomes is limited, but control over response is always available. Daily reminders of this truth reduce frustration and anxiety. Acceptance strengthens calm because resistance creates tension. Over time, trained calm becomes part of your identity. You begin to trust yourself in difficult situations. This trust reduces fear before challenges even arise. When you believe in your ability to stay composed, pressure loses its intimidation. Unshakable calm is not emotionless. It allows emotion without surrendering to it. Through daily training, you learn to feel deeply while remaining grounded. This balance creates strength, clarity, and presence. The mind responds to what it is repeatedly shown. Show it calm daily, even in small doses, and it will return calm when you need it most. Pressure will still exist, but it will no longer control you. Calm will no longer be something you chase. It will be something you carry. True calm is not the absence of problems, pressure, or pain. It is the ability to remain centered no matter what is happening around you. Life will test you with uncertainty, criticism, loss, and unexpected challenges. But those tests are not meant to break you. They are meant to reveal how strong your mind has become. When you train yourself to pause instead of react, to observe instead of panic, and to respond with intention instead of emotion, you reclaim control over your inner world. Calm becomes your advantage, clarity becomes your guide, and discipline becomes your shield. With daily practice, awareness, and self-mastery, your mind stops being a battlefield and starts becoming a place of strength, focus, and stability. And when the world tries to shake you, you will stand firm because you have trained your mind to stay calm in any situation.